what the founders actually put together in the Electoral College was a direct election of the choosers, right? So instead of lifting up somebody who then has to navigate and somehow get through all of the sluice gates that are controlled by the choosers, the people who are really determining what the choice is going to be, the money bags, the big media, the party bosses, and all of this, instead of running that gauntlet, the Electoral College actually allows you to propose a slate of electors. And if you can get the word out amongst people at the grassroots, you can elect them, and they go, and in the middle of December, they choose who's going to be president of the United States. If you are able, in the different states of the Union, to elect a majority to the Electoral College, that majority will then choose the president and vice president. Media won't be able to interfere, won't have to go beg, big corporate money and backers and other things like this for anything. And you say, well, can people do that? They're not rich and so forth. I believe, and I said this to someone the other day, that it's kind of almost like the wisdom or providence of God. What have we done? In the 18th century, the late 18th century, some folks got together, put together a constitution. That constitution was based on a process that actually allowed people at the grassroots directly to select, without any other intervention, people who would represent their view in the selection of President of the United States and get the job done, right? Without a lot of other folks being able to interfere and skew the process so somebody that didn't even represent them ends up being the only choice they have on the ballot, which is what we've got now. Doesn't have to happen that way. And yet, the technology that actually on a large scale would allow you to implement that approach from the grassroots itself, directly with people working with other people, comes along in the 21st century. It's almost like it took, what would it be, over 200 years for our scientific technology to catch up with the vision of our founders. They actually had created something that could not be fully implemented until our human understanding had grown up a little bit, at least in a technological sense. But you know the sad thing? We have grown up technologically to the point where we have the instruments. The question is, have we retained our maturity in the sense of our courage and our moral character and our conscience and our fearlessness for the sake of our rights and maintaining our Constitution? Have we maintained that maturity to a sufficient degree that we will now know what to do with these instruments? That we won't let people talk us out of it because, that's impossible and so forth. If you can get flash mobs and flash crimes and flash choirs and flash this and flash that, why is it that you can't use the same technology that can gather those folks together, to gather people of like mind together in order to choose other folks who will then gather together on a national level by the same technological means, never even having to leave their home state, in order to reach a decision about who throughout the country is best? And you know the wonderful thing? Let's say you did that. Imagine the meeting of folks taking place at some internet teleconference or whatever it might be. And now when somebody from another state says, well, here's some of the people we think need to be considered, everybody who's part of that teleconference would immediately be able to look up some biographical information and see what they were talking about, and verify some facts. What is at the fingertips of our people right now for this sort of thing is absolutely mind-boggling. And yet it's as if we are perfectly happy to use it for fantasy football and God knows what else. But we don't realize that it is actually putting in the hands of the people exactly what they need to accept the gift of representation that was intended by the founders. And I've been talking about this a lot because I hope people will look. The beauty of America in terms of what was called by our founders the genius of our people is that it has been one of the aspects of the genius of the American people that if you can plant the seed of an idea, it is very often the case that people in this country will then look at it, digest it, and come out with a way of implementing it that you would never have thought of, but that works for their place where they live and their state where they live. That's what everybody needs to do now. Take a look at this Constitution again. See the offer that it is making to put control of the choice back in the hands of the people, and see whether or not we still have the wherewithal and courage to accept that. I think there is an alternative. I think it could still be implemented from this day until November. The general election process in reality hadn't even begun. And the people who are trying to manipulate our perceptions know that. And they're trying to do everything in their power to distract people from the fact that there is world enough and time for the people themselves to take advantage of the Constitution so that they will be put in a position of getting a better choice for President and Vice President of the United States.